Alright, we're gonna go over Regalia again. So, holy shit, we have Minerva. I know I'm behind with Regalia units too. It's been like a week and a half of reveals. I've just been busy with ARG stuff and life. But now we got Minerva, so I am excited to go over it, and I just had to squeeze in a video. So, let's just get into it. Ultimate Regalia of Almighty Minerva. Her first skill is once per turn, so last 3 cards with Regalia in its card name, and then choose a face-down card with the same card name as this unit from the G-Zone, and flip it face up. This unit gets plus 10k and drive plus 1 until the end of the turn. So it gets quad check and gets 10k power by just Soul Blasting 3 and Persona Flipping. Cool. The second skill is once per turn, GB3. Soul Blast 6 cards with Regalia in the name, and then choose a card from your hand and discard it. When this unit attacks, you may pay the cost. So on attack, if you do, at the end of the battle, stand all of your units with Regalia in the name. This unit gets drive -3 until the end of turn. Whew! Just wow. So, to be honest, I really didn't expect much from Regalia, especially from the Minerva stride. I knew it was going to be a restander, but having these 2 skills is just like, whoa! So, a couple of things to note. This card, together with both the skills, is, in my opinion, better than Ziegenberg, and it's also better than Flood Hazard. Mainly due to that this card actually can plus you 1 card, because with the quad check, on your first attack you do quad check. Then you'll lose 3, then you do 1 more drive check on your second attack. So you get 5 drive checks, very similar to Flood Hazard, but you only discard 1, which is holy crap. So you get a +1 out of it. And with Ziegenberg, you needed to make sure that your opponent didn't have any rear guards, just to either +1 or break even. I couldn't remember. And with Flood Hazard, you just break even later on that point of the game. So one of the things it kind of reminds me of is very similar to the Gregoet Helios on first stride, where you just get quad check. This is, again, another +1 form. And this can help with Regalia's problem in the past, where advantage just wasn't there for it. And having the quad check is really appreciated. So you can be playing aggressively in the early game, because we're going to get advantage back with Angelica, and then we have a new grade 2 that does the same thing, and we have now Minerva doing quad check. So on first try we could just do this and not really care about losing rear guards in the beginning, because we're able to keep the pressure and still regain our units back, in a sense. So what's interesting to note is the second ability. It doesn't flip anything in the G-Zone. So you can theoretically use Minerva anywhere between like 2 to 4 times in a game. 2 times because if you use the first go twice, and then the 3 to 4 times is you don't use the first go once at all. Because some games you may want to reserve her restanding pressure throughout those games. And I know some of you are probably thinking, but Jaime, that's -1 in advantage. And our break stride Angelica actually compensates for that. You can throw in draw triggers to help compensate for that, and there's other units that help you break even. But depending on the matchup, if you know it's going to be a grindy game and you want to keep the pressure up, then you might consider using your Minerva's, how to say it, you use her multiple times at the cost of losing 1 card, is what I mean. So you can come up with Link Joker, maybe Mega Colony to a point, but you definitely want to finish any matchup as fast as you can and keep applying the pressure. Ideally, you want to be +1 with both the skills together. You're going to be Soul Blasting 9. That's another thing to know. So that might be another case where you might not have 9 cards in Soul, and so you only have enough for either the quad check on first stride, or you just have it for the restanding, and in that case, you're kind of forced to pick. But that is one thing to keep in mind. That's all I got to say for that. It's also great if you G-guarded, and then you went into your first stride as this, because you'll get the Generation Break 3 by doing the first skill, and you'll get the full benefit out of it right away too, which is ridiculous in my opinion. Also, because Flood Hazard, if you try to do the same thing with Flood Hazard, you actually still -1, and you don't get quad check. You'll get triple drive and then one more check. It's not her where she's more flexible and she'll be GB3 right when you actually need her to be GB3. What else? Like I said, it's very useful against control. This resets your whole field, which is fantastic. It's ultimate pressure from Vanguard and Rearguard points of view. With Link Joker locking your circles, just having the Vanguard restand is a good amount of pressure too. So her being able to get power and an extra drive on top of that is more pressure against your opponent, which is really good. So, and there are other cards that actually can make her attack, her 2 attacks even bigger, and boosters of course, because, oh, that's another thing to note. She stands all the units at the end of the battle, so you can boost and then restand your booster. So you have a constant booster for your battles, which is great. Because we got a new grade 1 that's actually pretty good. So, yeah. Let's get into the next card. Regalia of Abundance Freya. Freya got a retrain. She used to be a Legion restricted card, and they just made her into, in my opinion, a better card. When she's placed on Rearguard Circle, if you have a grade 3 or greater Regalia in its card name, you can draw a card, choose up to 2 cards from Regalia and its card name from your drop zone, and put them into Soul. So this is what I was talking about, where I wish Regalia had some form of not only soul charging, but doing something else. And Hamaro is a grade 2 that soul charged 3 from the drop, and that's it. She was vanilla after that, so she was really useless. So having something else to go along with that kind of skill is really appreciated. So having this to draw us a card instead of having the 3rd soul charge in a sense is, I think, a good direction. And the fact that it causes a counterblast, it's not that heavy, so that's good. And on top of that, it has an actual second skill where it's GB2 when you're Vanguarded with Regalia in the name attacks. This unit gets +3 until the end of the turn, and it's not once per turn, so if Minerva's attacking twice, this can trigger twice. So it's +6, making it a 15k. If you have a 7k booster, that makes that 22k column. If you have other forms of powering up, which we do, just like the new Koko Heda Regalia trigger, where it gets another +3. By herself, it could be +9, making her 18k column in that sense. So this is definitely a 3 or 4 of, and with Minerva, this is definitely going to be a 4 of. So the new grade 2, we got another one, Regalia of Fox Honey. So the first skill is when this unit attacks a Vanguard, you may have this unit get +2. And if you do, at the end of that battle, put this unit into Soul. So she can attack the Vanguard by herself, because she'll become 11k base. And she fuels your Soul to do your Vanguard skills. And so, in that sense, it's pretty synergetic. And what's kind of cool is that in the past, sometimes I was short with 1 Soul Blast, like back in Legion Era when I was playing Aegis though. I had 5 in the Soul, and I was like, crap, I am literally 1 short from 6. And having a unit that you can just throw down and attack and then go into Soul can help reach those gaps that you were missing. So you can Soul Blast 3, Soul Blast 6, etc. So this is definitely actually pretty good in my opinion. And the fact that you can get an attack out of it, then it Soul Charges, is pretty cool. Instead of like, oh, put in your Soul during your main phase, but now you lost some pressure. So that makes a difference on the timing. The GB1 skill, when this unit is put into drop zone from your Soul during your turn, so it is restricted to your turn. Choose one of your units with Regalia and its card name, and it gets +3 until the end of the turn. So it's like a mini Norm, in a sense, where you can beef up your Vanguard, but you have the flexibility to beef up your Rearguards, which is pretty cool. And so this actually could make Freya the 18k mark by herself. And so this is definitely going to be a 3 or 4 of, at least for the first round of testing. This is something I'm looking forward to as well. So now we're going into the grade 1, Regalia of Talisman, Expel Angel. This card is what I was talking about, where this could be a really good booster for Minerva. Once per turn, it's an act, which you can use every turn if she's still on the board. Choose 3 normal units with Regalia in their names that are different from this one. So then you put them in the bottom of the deck in any order. If you have a Vanguard with Regalia, this unit gets +3, so it becomes a 10k booster. If you have a face-up card with Regalia in its card name, in your G zone, draw a card. So once you start your stride turns or you G guarded, and then go into your stride turner, you'll get to draw a card. So you'll get some advantage back too by calling this from your hand. Also, the +3, again, it's a 10k booster. This can make Hena an 11k by herself. You can have this behind her, and now it's a 21k column. You can have this behind Minerva, where Minerva is 36k by herself if she did the first skill, and then now with a 10k booster, it's a 46k Vanguard column. And then if it restands, it's gonna have that same pressure again. Really good. Definitely I'm gonna play 3 or 4 of as well, especially since she has the ability to recycle. Because in the past, Regalia, especially when you were soul charging from deck mainly, you could deck out if you didn't finish your opponent fast enough. So having this flexibility of recycling helps a ton. So on to the next unit. So like I mentioned, Koko Heda actually got retrained and became an honorary Regalia unit, which is great. So it's very similar to the old Koko Heda, where you put it into Soul Interact, and if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, choose one of your units, it gets +3 until the end of the turn. And if you have a face-up card in your G-Zone, you draw a card. So this is the second card that requires a card face-up in the G-Zone to draw a card. So what's nice, it's kind of like a Rough Seas Banshee, where you just shove it into Soul and you draw a card. But the benefit is that you can still give power to other units, +3. The other thing to know is this is Genesis. So by this going into Soul, you are increasing your feel for your Vanguard skills. And that's really synergetic. And it's a Regalia unit, so it works well with Minerva turns. And if you have a couple of these, you can make some threshold numbers pretty easily. The next unit we got is a grade 4. Before we saw Minerva, I saw this and I was like, oh, this could be our first try for Regalia in general, but I think Minerva overshadowed her now. But she does have her uses. Ultimate Regalia of Crimson Lotus Expel. So it's a once per turn. It's not in GB, so again, first stride if you want to. Choose a face down card from your G-Zone and turn face up. Generic. Soul Blast any number of cards. Choose one of your regards for each card Soul Blasted. They get +4 until the end of the turn. If you Soul Blasted 3 or more cards, draw a card or counter charge. So you can beef up a rear guard really big with her skill. What kind of came to mind, since it's very generic, you could technically use this on a Fair and Rare Wiseman deck and beef up Wiseman this way if you have like a shit ton of cards in Soul to spare. And if you do Soul Blast 3 or more, you can get actually a draw. So you can get advantage back, or you can just counter charge to refund some of your counter blast management, which is pretty cool. If you know you're going against a grindy matchup, probably against Chaos, you probably want to go this into first stride and probably go for the extra draw. And then your following turns, just do Minerva either 2 to 4 times and go ham. So yeah, to the next unit. Let's see. This is fantastic. We got a Regalia G-Guard. The old stride from last year, Earth, required 2 Regalia units to get the full skill, where it's Soul Blast 6 to get +10k in the crit, and then that skill wasn't once per turn, so you could just abuse the fuck out of that, basically. But the problem is, you had a shitty Regalia unit, Demeter, which was kind of outdated, because it was from the original Fires collection, and if you wasted an Earth on the first stride, you don't get that full benefit. So having this G-Guard, you can actually G-Guard, go into Earth, Earth flips herself, and now you have the 2 Regalia, so you can get the Red Tech skill, which is super helpful. If you know your opponent doesn't have the PG, and you can get a crit or 2, you could potentially just kill them. Because she gets power and crit on top of that, so they can't really guard something that huge if they don't have the perfect guard, or even that, a heal trigger to G-Guard. So to the actual effect now, when this unit is placed in Guardian Circle, choose up to 4 cards with different grades from your drop zone, put them into your Soul. If you put 2 or more cards this way, until the end of the battle, this unit gets +5. Then if you put 4 or more, this unit gets plus 10. So you could potentially get plus 15 in general, reaching 30k G guard by herself. This could make your Vanguard 41k in general, and this is pretty much like Negra from Grand Blue, where you just have this 30k shield that you can rely on. And I think it will be fairly easy, especially since you'll be soul charging, soul blasting your units. You can kind of like filter out through your soul and your drop zone with each other, and you can make it that it works more beneficial for you. And in this case, the G guard. So definitely appreciate it. Let's see. And we got our own heal trigger. The heal trigger is actually a retrain of the old Regalia heal trigger, which is nice because like when we got the Fighters Collection heals and I had to replace her with a witch in the Minerva Brick Right deck, I kind of like, I actually liked her art. But now she got a retrain and she looks awesome. And she's the generic counter charge or soul charge heal triggers that we've been getting recently. And she's really good in the sense, if you think about it, like this can help solve that counterblast issue if people are being concerned with all these units now counterblasting. But I can see the soul charge part of it being also more relevant compared to the other heals in different clans, because again, Genesis uses the soul for resources to pay for the cost of skills. So that's definitely good. Regalia also got a new Forerunner, Regalia of Dawn Daylight Angel, which is pretty cool actually, because we only had the Legion Forerunner, and that was pretty outdated. So now, what this does, Counterblast 1, put this into your soul, reveal the top 3 cards from your deck, put up to 1 card from among them into soul, put the rest into your drop zone, and if you have a card with Regalia and its card name that was put into your soul, you draw a card. This is fantastic. Compared to what we had, this is actually pretty good. It does many things. One, you don't lose advantage. So you can fuel her into the soul, and then this actually puts a card into the soul on top of that, and then puts the rest into the drop zone. So you have now targets for Freya and for Chimera, if you want to use them too, to soul charge from the drop. And that's pretty good, actually. So I'm definitely going to be playing this, and the fact that it's not GV, you can use this immediately if you really want to, especially against like Overlord, where they can just kill the starter with either Gatling Claw or the Destiny. So you kind of want to like swoop this up as soon as you can. And even against like the Chaos matchup too. So you can reserve your regards in hand, and they are forced to lock from drop in from hand at that point. So Achilles and Norm are 2 units that I've wanted to talk about a little bit. Both have the skill when they're soul blasted, choose one of your vanguards with a Galley in the name. It gets +5 until the end of the turn. With Minerva, so we went over units that soul charge from the drop. We see these units that can give power during the main phase or are soul blasted. You can get Minerva hitting really big. So the first skill, Soul Blast straight, right? Let's say you had 3 Norms, or any of the mix of 3 Norns or Achilles. You get +15 when you Soul Blast. So from the first skill should be 36k, plus the 15 from the Soul Blasted units. That's 51k. That is pretty much a Gurgurate stride. The Helios one hitting that number. That's huge, especially on a restander, and she's quad check too. And then to follow up with that, if you have a method to soul charge those units back, you can then use the second skill Minerva where you soul blast 6 to reuse that and give yourself another 15k on top of that. So thus you'll become 51 to 66. And then the remaining 3 other units that you haven't soul blasted, if they're the remaining like Achilles or Norn or the other grade 2 Hena, you can give your Vanguard +3 each or 5 each from those 2 on top of that. So you're hitting, how big are you hitting? 66 plus another 15, let's say, 76, 81. 81 with the 10k booster, you're 91. So ideally you can hit like 91 twice, which is ridiculous in my opinion. And if your opponent is now in the situation where it's PG or take it, because even G guards can't reach that high of a number. The only thing that could stop it is if they have multiple G guards, and if they get even high that enough. And on average, I feel like Minerva's gonna hit somewhere over the 40 to 50k, mainly because of her own skill, giving her 10k, so she's gonna be base 36. So if you can give her power ups with that, she's gonna easily be in the 40k mark. And then if you have like at least a booster and some of those units that give power from soul, you're gonna be hitting the 50k mark pretty easily. So I just wanted to point that out where people, oh, it's a restanding, Vanguard, restanding the field. But she hits hard. That's what I'm getting at. And the trigger lineup is kind of up for debate right now. Testing will tell. Like, you can go crits and draws, where you appreciate the extra draw, especially if you go into a meta where you think you're going to see a lot of chaos and other stuff, where you can use that draw to help compensate for not flipping a Minerva to preserve them. Or if you go the other route where you're like 12 crit or even 16 crit, if you really just like go ham from the early game until they're dead, that's a different route too. The other route is having some stands. Achilles does come to mind because it gives power. You can have Dreaming Dragon to recycle if you really find yourself needing it. Do keep in mind recycling your drop into your deck can hurt sometimes because some of your cards soul charge from the drop technically. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And then you have Taro, but it kind of conflicts with Minerva because Minerva's going to restand the whole field if that's the play you're going to do 9 times out of 10. But it does give you flexibility on different strides, of course. And the other thing to note with Minerva, she only requires the Regalia name in the Soul Blasting. She doesn't require the heart to be Regalia, which is pretty bunkers. So the thought of actually using cards like Fenrir and Namuruda as your grade 3 hearts is an option, technically. Fenrir, I feel like, would be the better option than Namuruda. You think Amuruda would be like, oh, but you can free stride. But you're Soul Blasting 3, which can hurt and take from the Minerva feel for that. But with Fenrir, you can Counter Blast when you Soul Blast, and you can get a unit back, and that can get you basically a card to work with. And having the flexibility to grab something from your soul in Regalia could be actually useful. You can get Freya, you can get Hanel as a beater, or you can call the booster, the Talisman, grade 1, and put it behind your Vanguard, and now you have that constant 10k booster, in a sense. So those are things that are like coming in my mind too, really thinking about it. So I'm pretty sure next month I'm going to start playtesting this, and so be looking forward to that. I think that's it for today, guys. So hope you guys found this interesting, or you liked the video. Please leave a like, comment down below, share it with friends, and subscribe. See ya, amigos. Bye.